everyone. I hope you're really doing well on this, what is it, Thursday. This week just flew by. I just wanted to check in. I just get so excited with things that I'm learning and things that I just have this nonstop content that's always coming to me and just exciting me and making me so enthusiastic about life. And it's like I just want to have a conversation with everybody about it. So you're all the people that I think of now all the time. I just can't wait to share stuff with you. So I just wanted to talk today about how doing math can change your life. And this is from somebody who was always a really good student, but math was one of those points like I can remember having like this guy friend like cheat for me, like show me his test answers. And it wasn't really always my strong suit, things like algebra 2 and geometry. But the thing that's always really been there for me as a person since I was a little kid is just really like looking at things from a really practical standpoint, where I could just see like, does this make any sense or not? And as a kid, all the way through my life, I would just think, I just don't get it. I just don't get how life works or how people work or why do people do things they do? Why is the people in my family doing the things they do? Why are all the people around me kind of doing a lot of things and going along with a lot of things in life, and sort of, you can see the wheels turning behind their eyes, and you can see that so many different people think things don't make sense, and yet we just kind of keep doing them because everyone around us does them. And group conditioning, social learning, this is how we are all just moving through life. Everything that we've ever learned came through social learning. So there's just so much power in being part of this culture and a group, like all the groups that we're a part of, like the entire world, our country, our region, our location, like our locale, everything that we're a part of, right? All of that. Now we're part of this massive global community here, and we're all impacting each other. So, so it makes sense that just kind of just end up doing things and going with the flow of things and the way things that have always been. And again, I remember just thinking, like, why do we do this? Because this is what's always happened. So I always wondered, and then I went at a certain point when I was younger and really not doing well, even though I was successful, I was not doing well internally. I just decided, like, I don't care what everybody is doing that looks like what they're going along with. These things don't work for me, So it's kind of things, some of the things are like a client of mine, Andrea, who I am just madly in love with. She came on to one of our trainings in our program, and when I checked in with her, she said she felt friggin' fantastic, which was exactly what I would expect from her at this point. But she was planning a funeral, and her daughter was having surgery, and we just had a real laugh about the fact that she was just not having it, what other people do for funerals and how other people look at it, and she just carved out with her strong, her big, massive emotional strength at this point. Just the power of that allowed her to just plan this amazing funeral that was so, just uniquely just perfect for what she wanted to do and how she wanted to honor this person. And we were able to look and say, she, by just looking at that and just making decisions and having the emotional power to do so, she not only made herself happy, she made the person that she was honoring, who's not with us anymore, happy, and she knows that. And then this entire group of people that would have been just doing the old school, we're at the funeral, let's all bond in pain, and let's all play let's perform our part of being sad, and then also we're sad, so let's really, really dig into this sadness. And that just didn't add up for her, and which is also, what I've trained her on, is to just absolutely live a life that makes you feel good and make no exception to that. So where this all connects to math is that there was a time in my life where, again, from the time I was a little kid, I was really a naturally happy person and just outgoing and dramatic and, no shock there. And yet over time, with all of my family's emotional struggles, and they didn't even really recognize that's what they were, but I was just always impacted, really emotionally impacted. I was always in a lot of emotional turmoil. And that went on until a certain point in my 20s where I just, everything was like, no, this cannot continue anymore. And, you could say there was just all this anxiety, and I had an eating disorder through my whole, since I was 12 until 19. It was really, really bad. And I was still basically recovering from that. But, all this inner turmoil over time, it just kind of wore me out. I had symptoms of depression, and I was already getting an autoimmune disorder, and this eating disorder was still lingering. And I remember this one moment where I think I had done a binge, right? I'd binged. I was had a big work day, and it was stressful. And I came home, and as many people do, no matter how many times I had told myself, I want to be thin, I want to lose weight, I want to be healthy, I want to be in control. It was just another one of these days where I was binging, and something drove I was like, who's driving my car to the store to go get this Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and then who's eating this ice cream, and then all of a sudden there I would be, right? I feel so guilty, and then I feel so horrible, and I would think about throwing this ice cream up, and this was the reality of the overwhelm. And it just occurred to me in this moment, I was like, am I going to spend my life feeling this much inner turmoil, feeling the compulsion to binge on food when I wanted to be the happiest, healthiest, attractive version of myself? Am I going to spend how much of my life am I going to spend in stress, then having the effect of stress be more powerful than my will, right? My will, I was really, really invested in being hot and attractive, and definitely not being overweight, which is a very important strategy in this world, to be a healthy, attractive person. It's very important advantage to be your healthiest self. And I was like, how, no matter what I'm doing, how long am I going to have all this stuff in control of me? How many times am I going to be stressing, feeling horrible inside, feeling like I'm going to just combust, I want to kill everybody, or I want to break down and cry? How many times am I going to go, think all afternoon about that binge, right? All that time is being taken away from my happiness. How many times am I going to fight through the binge, or don't binge, or go to the store, don't go to the store, open the fridge, don't open the fridge? How many times am I going to do that binge? How many times am I then going to go do that? How much time is that? Then, how much money is that? Then all the thinking and the guilt about it. And then the night would be over, and it's this is my world. This is my world. And when I counted back, this was, again, I was pretty young still, but when I counted back and I thought about the amount of my life since the time I was younger that was in some form of stress and feeling like I had all these feelings, didn't know how to manage them, didn't know how to talk about them to my family, didn't know what to do with them. I used to write in my journal all these things. I was so overwhelmed. It makes me sad right now. Just think of her. I was so overwhelmed, and this consumed me. And I was one of these kids, I would think about all these things that I would want to say to my parents, and all these things that I would want to express. And I was just constantly in turmoil. And I thought back, and I think, how much of my life has been feeling like this? And then like when I was 12 and my grandmother and all the women in my family were on diets, then this just started this whole, methodology of coping by using food, even though everybody was chronically dieting and then binging and it just miserable. And I really thought back, how much of my life has there been a thought about, has there been an emotion that was uncomfortable, a bunch of thoughts about it, a bunch of battle within myself, then like surrendering, like just having something take me over, have me do stuff I don't want to do. Then while I'm doing it, like I'm in some sort of crazy trance, right? Because I'm like I'm binging. So it's that escape from the pain, right? But then like, when you take like the last bite and that binge, the reality sets in and then you're just like, shit, now I have another problem. Like now I'm going to be getting fat and this is not good for me. And then all of the time spent struggling with that. And when I thought back about all the time, all the diet thoughts, all the thoughts about things that I wanted to do and I was afraid to do, all the conversations I wanted to have, the things that I wanted to like challenge people on, the things that I wanted to share, how much love I had for somebody, the things that I just always felt totally like not equipped to do. And then this ridiculous, just consuming, obsessive, ruminating, just never ever being able to settle and relax kind of experience, right? I started to do the math. I was like, how many mornings through high school did I get up at 5 o'clock to get on some freaking exercise cycle to get the calories burned from the binge last night? How many times have I gone to the gym when I don't really want to, but it's because like I have to do these things and I'm stressed and I have to try to be a certain way that I want to be, and I'm doing all these things that I don't like. How many hours of my life? How many times did I start a diet? How many times did I then the internal, my emotions failed me and then it didn't matter. Then I was like all on the other, out of control. How many times was I in a relationship where I didn't say something that I wanted to share? How many times was I in some dumb relationship, which was nothing, I was only in it because I didn't really know how to be emotionally powerful. So then I would be in relationships with guys all the way from the time I was younger where it wasn't good for me. It wasn't what I wanted, but I have the emotional strength to know how to do anything else. And when I really looked back at this one turning point and I thought, oh my gosh, how many hours, how many moments, if I were to total it up already, and I'm like in my 20s at that time, how many hours, moments have been stolen by not having the emotional capacity that I needed. And at the time I didn't call it that. I didn't know that's what it was, but really having like the inner resources that I needed. And it was a lot. And I thought to myself, okay, like that is time I'll never get back, but let me just be honest with myself about the math. Like you have to do something, Tracy. You have to learn to do things that nobody else around you knows how to do. And even though I was going to therapists, they didn't have a clue. They were just like, yeah, looks like you're really struggling and you really feel bad. And yeah, you want to be closer to your dad and he doesn't know how to do that. And so, yeah, you should feel bad. He sounds like, he sounds like not a good guy or whatever. It's like, there was no process that was helping me be the way I needed to be. It was somebody nice talking to me, but that time was even wasted, right? Going to therapists, nice people, I could bitch about something, but that was also wasted because that moment was not enjoyable in my life and it wasn't helping me become the person that I wanted to be. Because what I wanted to be was to be able to feel the way that I wanted to feel. And again, just do what I wanted to be able to do and have total freedom to do that and not need to depend on anyone else to make me feel better, right? Because I actually didn't know people around me that felt good anyway. And if I was depending on like my boyfriend, or I did get married younger in my 20s, and that didn't work for, so I never should have done it. But all of this depending on someone else to make me feel better, was sort of the subconscious strategy. When I really even looked at that, it's like, even that was so much time spent trying, let me tell you, I would say to my boyfriend, like, really try to get him to be this person that I needed him to be. And the underlying message was so that I can feel better. You need to be better than you are so that I can feel better. And all the thoughts I used to have. If only my dad were this way. If only, so-and-so would treat me this way. And all of that effort was so much effort trying to have strategies to feel better from the outside in. Right? And so, again, that math was a game changer. Because I'm somebody that, probably one of the biggest parts of my personality and drive is that I totally value time. I'm very conscious of living life because I know the one, the one resource that can never be replaced is time. So I remember this day where I just thought, oh my gosh, if I continue on this track and don't figure out how to be so emotionally strong that I am in charge instead of some force greater than me, having me act out of emotional turmoil, having me break down inside, melt down, get, unhealthy, no matter how great of a face that I could put on, how much of my life am I willing to experience that? And then when the solutions that were being given as options, which I was refusing to take, were, well, you can go on an antidepressant and you can go to the psychiatrist and you can go down this track your whole life. And it's something inside of me just was like, no, that is not the answer. That is a whole nother bunch of my time. That is a whole nother bunch of, that is a whole bunch of stuff that is not what I'm interested in doing, right? I want to be living the life I want to live. So I really took stock and I thought to myself, let's just extrapolate this math out going forward. Okay. And this is what I want you all, I'm really bringing this to you to have you all think about this for yourself, right? Because I think at the time, but when I looked at it, I think I calculated something like 5 total years of my life when you added up all the moments that I decided were stolen from me. 5 years of my life by that point were already completely stolen from the pain and the struggle and the trying to find any way I could to feel better. And then those ways of feeling better were taking more from me than they were helping me. Even though they helped me survive my emotions, they were taking from me. They were taking my resources. I mean, the binge food bill alone, I can't even imagine. I think I did total it up at one point. And so I was like, okay, let me put this forward. Let me think about this going forward. If I were to be stuck in this trap of not knowing how to manage my own emotions, which I now, refer to as having the most powerful emotional strength and capacity, so that I am running all my behaviors and my emotions are not in charge of running me, then if I were to not have that, how many hours of my life, based on what had already happened, would be lost to all of this, right? All of the time, all of the therapy appointments, all of the medications, all of the, oh my gosh, again, the binging, the dieting, the food bill alone, the Hashimoto's by that time, having had an autoimmune disorder, all the money, every single piece of it, right? Because you have to go a really amazing doctor and who knows what they're doing. And I remember just even saying to myself, if you were to spend the rest of your life at a minimum just feeling this kind of anxiety and emotional turmoil, number one, and then one of my primary coping mechanisms was binging. If you were to do that going forward and you looked at that, what would that really look like? And I was horrified. And I thought to myself, And I looked like from the outside in. I was like, let me look like I'm the outside. I'm looking at this person in my house, in this life. What is she doing, right? She gets home, she's stressed, she starts opening the refrigerator, she like goes to the store, like watching her life from the outside, like I was watching a movie. And I thought, that's a whole different perspective. And what would this look like if this just continued on and continued on into my 30s, into my 40s? And like, I know some of you, right, into your 50s and 60s and all of this. And I thought to myself, like, this pretty much could consume like 90% of my life. And even if it consumed only 50% of my life, then what would that look like? If it took 20% or 10 or 5, what would that look like? And it was just, I was like, there is no way. And that math was such a game changer that I knew I had to develop a very practical path to be able to live my potential as a person, to be in control of myself so that I could be in control of my destiny. And that's what I did. And that's how I was able to, be really, really powerful in my entire career and live a life where I call the shots on everything. So in terms of what I just would love to help all of you with is whatever it is in your life, right? I really encourage you to be willing to do the math, because one of the sort of things that we're all very interestingly conditioned for is that we don't, what do they say? They say Americans die without, or live without realizing they're dying, and then they die having never really lived, right? And that's because we are not conscious, and we don't do the math, and we're not in reality, because also part of our culture is that we're all in like a haze so that we will continue to buy everything, right? This is a consumer-driven culture, which includes medicine. It includes the whole health industry is also, and make no mistake about it, it's as powerful as like the diet industry. It's as powerful as the cigarette companies. It's a very, very, very powerful influence. And so we're conditioned not to really look at the math of our life so that we can make really strong decisions for ourselves, really at least clear, at least not delusional decisions, right? Otherwise we're kind of living in this like delusion kind of experience. So what I think, just as an example, everyone, if we just take, sorry, people, I'm getting text message. My girlfriends are texting me. Hi, Dr. Maggie. So if you just think about why you're all in this group, in some way, shape, or form, you're wanting to change and be in control of your emotions and your behaviors, be in control of yourself, and be in control of your destiny, right? Because that is what dictates your life. And so if you think about everything going forward, think about what it looks like if you are to stay in the same path that you're on. What does it look like? How many moments of your life will be devoted to experiencing emotional turmoil? How many moments of your life will be devoted to feeling bad about that? Be devoted to trying to fix it. Be devoted to every single issue that accompanies it, right? I want you to really think about the web that extends from your emotional struggles and every area that it touches in your life, right? Where it touches your career, where it touches your relationships, your parenting, where it takes something from you, where it reduces the quality of your life, where it lowers your potential, where it makes you underachieve, where it makes you sort of end up having to do things to deal with it or fix it. And then you don't quantify those things because you're just on that merry-go-round. You're like, okay, I am depressed. I go to the doctor. I get this. I'm on this. I'm on the hook for this. Now I go to the pharmacy. I do all these things. All of the strategies, everything that goes into it. If you're on that roller coaster that I was on with issues with food and eating disorders and using all kinds of medications and anesthetics, alcohol and cigarettes, and when I know what they used to do with people for smoking. They'd be like, can you imagine, like, how much of those cigarettes? But it's true. How much is this all costing you? And it's not about, really my agenda is at least to just awaken you to at least know that, so that, as I've always said to my clients, well before I ever had this specific particular program that we do, I would just say, whatever you do, let's at least get real about what you're choosing, so that's not like, oh, this is happening to me. Like, it's okay to choose whatever the heck you want, but know that you have the sovereignty to make a choice. So what choice are you making, right? If it is to stay in this relationship, know that this is all your choice. So what really, I believe, helps people and empowers people is that you actually know you're making the choices you're making, right? Nothing's happening to you. You don't have to do something. There are absolute options to you in life, and at least know the choices you're making. Know, am I choosing, it's anxiety. Am I choosing, like, out of all the choices, like, if I'm just dealing with anxiety and I'm just letting it be what it is, I'm choosing that. So how much of my life am I consciously willing to devote to that? Is it, like some people have said to me when I've asked them, how much of your day do you feel emotionally uncomfortable? And they said something like 90%. So calculate what those things are for yourself. Know what they are. Know what it looks like now in your life, how many hours, go ahead and go do the minutes if you want. How much money, how much are you spending on this? How much is it costing you in your salary? How much is it kept you from being with the type of partner you want? All of these things, right? If you're not with the type of person you want to be with, or you are with someone and they're not the best person for you, what's the cost of that? What's the cost of not being with an amazing partner who's got high emotional capacity and high financial capacity? Because those two things go hand in hand. What is the cost, right? What is the cost of not having that and then spending your whole life working harder than you need to, not having the partner that would completely, like, carry the weight with you? What is the cost of all of that? What is the cost of breaking up with people? What is that, you can't make it work? What is the cost of getting divorced? Because divorce is nothing more than a result of having emotional issues, and people are not able to be emotionally strong and empowered and collaborative. What is the cost of all of these things? What is the cost when your daughter starts to become addicted, and then now that sets off a whole new pattern of her needing therapy and drugs and recovery, and because that's what happens. What is the cost of all of that? And if that's already happened, just add it up. Just get a sense of it, right? That's truly operating in the truth, and the truth, as they say, is what sets you free, right? You have to know what's going on. You can't just kind of keep defaulting, because you will blink, and like people that my team and I talk to every day, you will blink, and then, when I say, how long has this been going on? And somebody says 20 years, they will say that it just went like that. They don't know what happened to their life. But what happens is your life gets filled up with a bunch of stuff that you did not sign up for or choose, but you're at the effect of, and you don't really look at it as a math equation, because, by the way, we don't really want to look at the equation. This is something really important to really take note of, because it's okay that you haven't looked at it this far, and I really want you to, but know that part of why people don't look, and they're like, we have so many avoiding strategies. When we don't have emotional strength, we have no other choice but to naturally have a protective and emotional strategies to try to get around and compensate for what we don't know how to do, when we don't know how to be totally emotionally strong. So what happens is, why we don't do the math is because when we look around, we don't have any answers, right? When you see no way to fix something, and you have no sense of how that's going to change, then it's an understandable strategy that's just happening. Like, I'm not dealing with it. I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm just going to have this on autopilot, and I'm just going to be a passenger to this shit that's going on. Now, having been there and understanding that, like, when I didn't have a clue what to do, it was actually completely understandable that one of my survival outlets was to do, like, in my case, the binging strategy, right? Which, by the way, created leaky gut syndrome, created all kinds of stuff that ultimately went away really easy when I fixed my emotional strength. But, you know, it made sense that I needed to use that strategy. And those strategies they're what we had, right? They're what you have right now. But when you know that there are other ways to change yourself from the inside out, then I just want to let you all know you don't have to live like that anymore, right? You don't have to avoid something, because there is an option, right? There's the option of gaining emotional strength. And I just encourage you all to do that in any way you possibly can. So to really realize that it's okay, that you've done the best that you can. You had whatever you had available to you. And it was really amazing that you got this far in life, given that none of us grow up. And I mean, none of us, we get zero emotional training as people. We only get what our parents had, and they didn't get any. And for the most part, the majority of people are, quite honestly, we're all surviving our childhood, no matter how great it was. I've worked with tons and tons of really wealthy people. It's an emotional, like, minefield either way. So everybody's surviving the emotional landscape. And then that just gets carried forward, right? We just keep surviving. We keep having these strategies, and we keep just surviving. And TikTok, life is going by. And cha-ching, the cash register is ringing, and we have an entire fabric of our life that is being devoted to these issues. We're paying for it. We're paying for it with our time. And then if you just look forward, just encourage you all, look at any problem that you have in your life. Look at what it's costing you. Look at assume that if you don't change anything, that it's going to continue and get progressively worse as problems do. It's a big snowball. Then what is the cost of that going to be? What is the cost of the time that you'll never get back? What is the cost of every single aspect of it? There are hard costs. There's always a time cost, and then there are hard costs, and then there's a bunch of soft costs of, like, just things that are just painful. Now, the other one is that when you look at the emotional strength issue and not having it, one of the biggest pieces of math that is profoundly important to do, again, is what is this costing you in income as a person? What is this costing you not to get the promotion? What is it costing you not to be able to take advantage of opportunities? What is it costing you not to be able to, like, really compound and build your life, right? Where you keep building things, and then they keep gaining more and more resources for you, right? Like, you get resources and they create more resources. And the way that when you're really strong like that, you get set up in the good snowball effect, right? That strength keeps creating a bunch of stuff for you. And then your life is this great compounding interest, right? It's the way that why it's like investing, financially. When you invest in your emotional strength, it builds financial strength, and it just they both build on top of each other. And so you'll notice that people who are really kicking ass, they just keep getting more and more opportunities, right? They just keep getting more and more. You just look at our culture. Somebody makes it in something, and then they get everything thrown at them. Like, now do this, now sponsor this. It's incredible, right? So being able to cultivate that for yourself and compound that throughout your life and keep building the war chest so that you can, like, when you're at a certain point or whatever, have even more choices in your life, right? We all want this freedom, right? We all want to be able to have this freedom and then do more of what we want. You cannot get there without emotional strength. unless you're just banking on the lottery. And so what is the cost of not having that? What does it build? Does it keep building where the cost of you keeps getting higher and you're not keeping up with that in your career, in your work, because you can't grow in that respect and the compounding effect of that unless you've got that emotional empowerment. Thank you, man. Thank you. Exactly. So, when I really look at this, when I looked at it for myself, and I thought, what would be the cost of me doing, like if I just did this binge thing, like for the next 10 years, what would be the cost if this just kept going on? What would I be losing out? What would I not be doing with those 2 hours or a night that I was devoted to that, or just trapped in it? What would I have been doing otherwise, right? And when I was able to shift that, then I was able to use every moment of my life to make it its full potential. I was able to enjoy, to put in my life, in those moments, things that I love, people that I love, projects that I love, and build, right? Build in real estate, build in my career, build in my impact, build in, just keep building myself and build in enjoyment of it. Because the fun is in the building, right? And then all these things just develop and then they keep compounding themselves, right? Even just being able to create more for yourself financially just keeps compounding and compounding. And we're meant in this life, because look at this, we're meant in this life to have this long stretch of time where we're compounding and compounding and compounding. And then it all is there for you at a certain point in your life. But when people don't have that emotional capacity and they're just getting by in life, and the cost of living is going up, and the demands of now with what is demanded of us to be a person, that gap is growing, right? And then the years are ticking off, and their war chest is not built up. And in fact, so many people we talk to with the challenges with their emotional capacity, it's getting worse and worse. And they know that the older they get, they're going to need more and more, and they haven't been able to compound that. They haven't been able to compound everything. And recognize, right, the reality, I was thinking about this last night, is the cost of being a person, or the demands of being a person, is, I was talking to a younger client of mine about this. The cost of being a person is going, or let's just say the requirements of being a person in this modern age is just going to keep increasing and increasing, right? Because we're at a rapid rate of evolution with technology. And for us to be able to keep up and be emotionally strong and with it and living life on the new terms, right? Whatever technological advances that we had at one point, they are now just every moment I think, oh my God, I can't keep up with everything that is now people are doing. So the requirements to evolve as a person, to be in this modern life, are just going to keep getting exponentially faster. You're going to need to be able to do more, know more, to just be a person, right? So as time is going by, these requirements of us in modern life now are getting more. They're becoming more. And then we're at the cost of everything is more. The expense of being a person is more. And part of what's happening is because technology has been so fast for us, our physiology has not kept up with it. So we're all breaking down, right? Everybody's breaking down from the weight of the demands of life. So when you really just get honest about it, you look at the math, what you're going to need as a person to be there for yourself, to take care of yourself, to not have all of your resources go to a problem that can be fixed very easily. I know how to do this. I know how to fix this. It's not very difficult. And it's something that can happen very quickly. But if you think about what you're really going to need and what the math really looks like, not to scare the shit out of everybody, but to awaken you all, the math of what it looks like to have the problems that you have continue, the cost, what you're not gaining ground in, what's not compounding for you, what you're going to need, who you're going to need to be, it's all based in having the strongest emotional capacity possible. It creates your entire capacity as a person. it makes it so that you have the capacity to do anything and meet the demands of life. And then, as I always say, and also the demands of your dreams, which is where the good stuff is. So today, I just wanted to bring you the gift that really changed my life, which was to look at the math and to let that math inspire you and fuel you to change your life at the root level. The only place where it's ever going to change, and the place that has the most leverage, right? Because we try to change it in, like, we're a person, then I try to change it here. I try to all these little spots, whatever it is, all these aspects of my life. I'm trying to change it over here. I'm trying to change it over here from the outside in. That's not leverage, right? The leverage, the strongest thing we can do is change ourselves from the inside out. Then we are literally this really strong, solid lever as a person that can really throw our weight around everything that we want to impact, right? The whole concept of leverage is that it's got to be you've got to be strong at the point you need to, so then that can support everything else. You're going to need a leverage of that emotional capacity. So whatever you do, just be honest with yourself about it, because that's the first step. Know that growing emotional strength is something that is very possible to do in a very short period of time. And getting that leverage of emotional strength has the power to literally impact every single thing in your life. And here's the good news that my clients know, that you can accelerate that emotional training. You can accelerate it, and you can make up, quite honestly, for a lifetime of never having it. And you can do it so well that then you can be totally emotionally empowered in a way that takes you through the rest of your life. That's how strong you can get it. You can basically take the math and throw it out, because what happens is when you get this emotionally strong the way that our clients do, then the reality is that all that happened in the past is irrelevant. Like, it's as if it didn't exist, because you are where you need to be. You caught up, right? You caught up because that training wasn't there for you anyway. But you caught up, and now you go forward and you can compound your life and build it faster than anyone. Even if it doesn't matter if you're 50 years old, 60 years old, you can still have that great compounding effect, because the biggest compounding effect in our life comes from our emotional capacity. So doesn't matter what happened before. You can absolutely compound your life at a more rapid rate than somebody that never gets this kind of strength training. So it's really something to consider. It's a very, very smart strategy to make up for lost time and to put yourself light years ahead on an emotional level while you're still at the age that you are, and you can enjoy the ride, which is the most important thing of all anyway, right? You can enjoy the ride and know that you will have the ability to always enjoy it all the way to the end of the run, and make it a really good one. And as I like to say, to feel the greatest feeling of all in life is that every day you're living your potential. And I wish that all for you. I wish that for all of you. All right, everyone. Thank you for your attention. I love sharing this all with you. And let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you're interested in having a conversation about all of this with us and seeing what's possible for you to make up for lost time and go forward as the strongest version of yourself, the highest version, or as I say, the highest powered version of yourself that you've ever been. Take care. Bye-bye.